I often say about this project that we set up a spaceship in their living room. So we just sort of showed up, and we knew that it would take a certain amount of time to win trust, and it just took a lot of cajoling and talking and asking, and we also changed our approach a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. When we first started doing it, we had this little sign that said, documenting shipbuilders, celebrating, like we use this language that, was more from us and our world than theirs. And finally, we boiled it down to just that little sign that you saw in the video that said, quick interview, free lunch. Like that was it. And we got gift certificates from Fiona's, the little diner next door. And we did give one to every single person that stepped in the booth. And most of them didn't end up even taking it. I think to answer your question, the way some of the nerves finally fell away, because it's this awkward intimacy there. We're in a photo booth that is 8 feet long, and Hopper's standing there with the microphone, and I'm standing there with the camera, and they're standing 3 feet in front of me. It's very intimate. Mm-hmm. Making a portrait of someone is very intimate. But I think once they understood that we wanted to hear what they had to say, that we were listening, it all just fell away. So I think another secret to it was I was photographing while Hopper was asking the questions and they were answering. So they're talking about what they do, and now they're inhabiting that space, and the rest of it just starts to fall away. So I think they were always nervous to walk in. But then we were also in real time putting the stuff up on social media, very transparent. They could see, what our intentions were and what we were doing. And then we started to pick up a little bit of traction.
I'm so impressed with the coloration of the portraits. Is there any special technique you have to get that?
It's just my post-production technique. In Photoshop and Lightroom, nothing has been added or subtracted particularly, but as a professional photographer, we're all always bringing the most out of every photograph. So we lit it so that, there was fall off on the sides of the faces and the center of the face was lit. It's tricky sometimes because they're hats or sunglasses, whatever they're wearing, and we had to work very quickly. But yeah, it's just mostly the enhancement of what's there.
What I found great about what Heather did was she used a technique that had really previously only been used on very beautiful people from Hollywood. Like this is a technique that is used on like Tom Cruise. And she tore that technique away from the beautiful people and put them on working people.
Are beautiful.
So,
yeah.
And they're beautiful too, but now they've been able to have this sort of
same star
this light,
this
treatment. So that's kind of how that progressed.
Thank you.
Was everyone satisfied? Was there anyone who said, I don't like my portrait, and then they did one?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. They were all, pretty, I think they were all, and it was interesting because some of them were like, no way, I'm not doing that. And then as most, that's true. And then as they, it was hard, the process. Now, first of all, I want to say that, so Hopper is my creative partner, and he was like, let's do portraits of shipbuilders. And I was like, impossible, can't be done. And then
we talked about it for about a year or two.
We did, we talked about it. We talked about, I live 2 blocks from the yard. I live right next to Sarah. We talked about, could we get them to come up to my studio? And that was clearly going to be crazy. And then we kind of came up with this idea of like, we have to go to them. We have to build this photo booth. And, that's when we figured out the lighting, and we built it out of PVC. I mean, it was like a thing, a production. We did a test run in the parking lot of Brackets.
Of Brackets Market, that's right.
We did a test run in the parking lot of Brackets.
And they happened to be building the condos over there.
Yeah,
so we had construction workers with
right.
hard hats.
That's right.
They were like, perfect.
So by the time we got to Southgate, we at least had the technical logistics down, but then it was just and we had to do this thing where we were in 2 public parking spots next to the diner. So we literally, in the morning, before getting our kids off to school, we would drive our 2 cars down there to hold the spots. Then we would walk back up to my house, I would drive him home, he would get his kids to school, I would get my kid to school. Then at 10:30, we would go down, move my car, set up the
thing.
booth,
Yeah.
do the van,
And
you
the
know.
booth was designed to fit both on and in my van.
That's right, all broke apart, go on top of the van, so it was all, and so we had this pop-up thing, right? And then when they, you know, sometimes they'd be like, no, 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 no. And I was the cajoler, right? I have this advantage in that I'm small and I'm very out of place in that scene. So instead of like expressing the intimidation that I felt, I just like walked up to
She would walk,
guys.
a lot of the workers would hang out in groups of 5 or 6
Yeah, so it's-
and like huddles, and they're almost all smokers because you can't smoke in the yard. So a lot of people that are coming out to smoke. But Heather would get in the circle. She would walk into the circle and say, "Okay, who's going to be today?"
Who's it gonna be?
And sometimes she would approach the same circle, I don't know, 5 or 6 times, and
Yeah.
nope, no, 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 no. The 7th time they say yes.
Okay, somebody's like, okay, fine. But then it was so amazing because you peel them away from this circle and they get in the photo booth and their voices are
The
shaking.
guy with the neck tattoos.
The neck tattoo guy, his voice was shaking. It was so like scared. And that's this kind of amazing moment, right? Where the walls and the differences fall away. Like we're scared to be there. And all of a sudden he's scared to be in our mini little turf on their big turf. Now we're speaking the same language. Now we just want to make each other comfortable. And that I think we didn't totally see coming.
No.
And that was, we stayed open the entire time to where the project wanted to go. And I think we were surprised by the depths that it took us to. So it was beautiful. And one of them, I won't take up too much more time because we have other speakers, but one of them, this guy Roger, we sort of identified as a bit of an influencer, right? Like
He was like higher up in the union. He
was like
he was a mentor for a lot of people.
this guy, Roger. So he was.
Once he blessed it,
Yeah,
once he
and
blessed the
I
project,
Interesting.
I
we were
worked
in.
on him for weeks. I worked on this guy. He was a rigger, so he was responsible for like, I'm amazing. And I worked on him for weeks. And then he came in and he did it. And then he decided it was okay. And after that, he just had people coming in. The cool thing about Roger, and he kind of becomes the capstone in some ways of the project, is that of all of them, he was the one that became my friend. And we stayed in touch and we texted all the time. Every Friday, he would text me and say, how's my favorite photographer today? And I'd say, I'm pretty good, Rigger, how are you? And we would just back and forth a little bit. And then one day he didn't text back. And it went for days and days and days, and I did not hear back until I got a text on his phone, on my phone, back. And it was his sister, and she told me that he had passed away. I know, so it was very moving and sad, I think, for us, but I think what I felt so great about is that this is a human that, like, I never would have connected with. We never would have been friends. I'm quite certain we didn't share political views. We never discussed it. But we did it, right? We
yeah,
wrote,
and he in particular let us really know a lot of the physical demands. Like he had been crushed several times by large pieces of steel, and he had a lot of stories about that. And it also affected his health,
Yeah.
his long-term health. And probably, we don't know why he died, but it's probably one of the reasons that he passed away so young.
yeah, he was
It's
younger
from,
than me.
It's from this work
Yeah, it's from this work.
and
I
this
mean,
lifestyle.
Yeah, and they all love it.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Did you end up having a cross-section of like parts of the shipbuilding, like electrical and?
we did. Yeah, great question. I mean, to some extent, it
Yeah,
was.
like, you can tell by the hard hat, so
Yeah.
welder is that color,
Oh,
right?
Well, yeah, shipbuilder,
And then-
welder, right?
Yeah, and then we have rigger,
Right.
is orange. So they all had painter.
Painter.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we after a while we could tell who was doing what by
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Tin.
yeah,
Okay.
tin shop.
Yeah.
Um,
So yes, we got
yeah.
to see a good variety, but really only village. We didn't get any white collar because that's sort of the other end of the yard. We were just at the south gate.
Yeah,
Yeah,